What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers football. Day 2 of mandatory mini camp. We got a bunch of stuff to cover tonight. Going to be a loaded show. Appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening. If you would, hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe. Share it with a friend. If you ain't got a friend, there's some people in here that'll be your friends. I just wouldn't recommend it, okay? We'll just leave it at that. But we're live on YouTube, X, Rumble, Facebook, MySpace, the whole 9 yards. So how we doing, gents? We good? Everything good today?
Are we live on our AOL dial-up stream too, Clayton? We
cover that is all correct.
The bases? All right.
Yes, just got to make sure you got a couple of those extra discs. You remember that back in the day? You get those in the mail all the time?
Yeah, man. Fire up the CD burner.
Oh, yeah. I used to pretend like our computer at home was fast enough to do anything on the internet. You know what I mean? It's just like, just stack those discs up all over the desk, Jacob. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, just got some online stuff here in case we need it, knowing damn well the computer wasn't going to handle it.
Right. I mean, I remember when I first got into the interwebs, I did nothing bad, and all I did was go on LimeWire and Napster, and I got the CD books to show y'all. Oh, bro, I used to have.
So you're the guy who ruined the music industry. God.
No, it was Metallica.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, hey, man, listen, for those of you who don't know about the CD, but yeah, Bates knows Napster, man. Napster's wild. That's the wild, wild west of stealing music back in there. I never did it, of course, but I knew people that did. I knew folks that did, so. All right, let's get into it, boys. We got OTAs day 2 before we jump into the offensive side of the ball. Y'all got anything? Anything at all?
Can I just say one thing real quick?
Absolutely not. Let's get into OTAs. No, I'm still go ahead. You good?
I haven't been on in a few days, and my grandfather called me before we went live, and he goes, what's going on? I haven't seen you on there in a few days. And I said, yeah, sorry. Work's been crazy. And he goes, well, it's just better when Clayton, you, Tim, and Julio are all together. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, everybody's better when they're together. I said, you mean Emilio? And he went, yeah, Julio, Emilio, the young kid. I said, Jesus.
Close enough. Close. Same thing, right?
So his name now better be Julio when he comes in here.
You'll hear me slip up and say Amigo all the time because I had a buddy of mine that got to know pretty well, and we worked construction together, and his name was Jorge, but we called him Amigo. And he is no longer in the States. You could imagine why. He had about 3 trips into the country to do some work, and I don't think he's getting back in this time. So shout out to Jorge Montañez down there in Torreon, Mexico. He's probably not watching. I'd be surprised if he has electricity right now. Good man, though. Very good man. Hard worker. Had to bail him out of jail a few times, but boy, oh boy, hungover or not, that man he would lay some concrete, and he could set some forms, and he would climb the steepest, most dangerous rebar stack you ever had to assemble. There's no chill whatsoever. So shout out, Jorge. I know you're not listening, but I'll talk to you anyway. So let's get into it, boys. Mandatory minicamp. I'm just going to let this loop a couple times because this is a thing of beauty. Mecole Hardman been turning some heads here. And now listen, mandatory minicamp. It's OTAs. This is mostly routes on air. Here was a little team activity, but Jordan Love just heaving that thing up there. And Mecole Hardman, I don't know, just about 5 steps beyond the defense there. I want to talk a little about Mecole. I want to get your all's take on it because this is something that when we signed him, I feel like what Goody's idea was, hey, look, let's kind of cover our bases because we know we're going to be down Christian Watson next year. And if the draft doesn't fall just right, let's get us somebody in here who can stretch the defense a little bit with some speed. He's also a guy that can run some of your gadget plays. He's also a special teamer. There's just a lot to like about him. I am kind of starting to wonder now, though, is Mecole Hardman going to be one of these guys that we look up at the end of the year? You guys notice on the tweet here, I said Jordan Love to Mecole Hardman, putting off Brett Favre to Andre Rison circa 1996. If you guys go back in time and look at that era, Andre Rison was one of those free agent signings. It wasn't like teams were just stumbling over themselves to sign him. You know what I mean? Tim, you probably remember this back in the day. It was, if I remember correctly, it was just kind of like, hey, let's bring this dude in. He had gotten into some trouble. I don't know if there was any legal trouble, but it just seemed like more times than not, he was in the news a little bit, or, I don't know all the details there. I do remember, probably shouldn't even speak on this, his house did get burned down by a girlfriend that will remain nameless because she is now, unfortunately passed away. That's all I'm pointing out, is like he had some baggage with him, right? Miko doesn't have any of that.
Nope.
That's to my knowledge.
No, just those 3 Super Bowl rings that he's got to carry with him,
and the Super Bowl winning catch. You remember that, Tim? Like, corn dog, that play.
Yep.
That
Absolutely.
Ran. So I don't know, man. Am I wrong there? Just thinking, what if this is one of those free agent signings that we look up and go, boy, was there anybody that played a bigger role for, in terms of bang for their buck than Miko Hardman,
Yep. I like Ed Madden's comment here. Looks like somebody forgot to tell McCole he's only there for special teams.
Bingo. There you go.
That was kind of the vibe that we were thinking initially, like, oh, good free agent pickup, bring another experienced guy to camp. Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to catch the vibe that McCole Hardman is probably going to play his way onto this team and probably play a bigger role than any of us really anticipated. So I'm all for it, man. He's old enough to know better, young enough to still do it, still enjoy it, right? So you got some veteran leadership, some championship caliber football experience in your wide receiver room. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, completely agree. What do you think, Jacob?
I am becoming a Mecole Hardman fan very quickly. The Packers released a few videos, one of them with about a 15-minute interview with the gentleman. Hey, look at there. And it's just the way he conducts himself. He just seems like a Packer type guy, a Green Bay type guy. Mm-hmm. Like Tim said, he's not just some wide-eyed rookie. You know what I mean? He's been the key component to winning a Super Bowl in the last play of a game. He has 3 rings. He knows what it's like to have the pressure cooker be turned on. He's played with an elite quarterback. He's played with an elite coach. He's played in an elite organization. He understands what it takes to be at that level. And I think, like the comment said, even myself, I thought when they brought him in, hey, he's maybe a special teams guy, and that'll be it. And I think that very clearly he's showing that he could be very well in the mix, especially with Christian Watson being out. I mean, that speed is no joke. You could see it today.
Ed Madden said he could be a guy who makes plays even with limited opportunities. I completely agree there. And I will say this, the one thing that stood out to me immediately following the draft was it was both Savion and Matthew Golden were mentioning players that reached out to him. And I want to say Matthew Golden's a certain number of the Packers wide receivers didn't reach out to him. Some did. Mecole Hardman reached out to both Savion and Jaden Reed, and they both mentioned that. So it was like, even though it's just a 1-year deal, pretty much a minimum veteran contract that he signed, he immediately kind of took the whole team vibe on. Here he was after the mandatory minicamp today. Matt Schneiden tweeted this video out. They asked him a couple questions to see what Mecole Hardman had to say.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know I was gonna be the oldest in them. I'm getting old, man. Year 7 is getting crazy. But I think just being able to get there and the work that was put in to get there. I think just being able to relay that to the guys, and especially when times get hard, or you're not feeling so well, or you're hurting or whatever, just kind of being have that experience to let them know, like, hey, it's this part of it. This where things happen. This where you build that, and this is gonna get better in the long run. And if it's hard now, it's easier later on. So just be able to have that experience to actually have gotten to the end game and having to win it. I think that goes a long way, especially for the younger guys to see that. And I'm glad I can give that experience to them and let them know like what it took and what it's going to take.
Year 7.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I did.
So I don't know, man. I kind of like his attitude. I like his aura, if you will.
You mentioned him reaching out to some of the younger receivers when he got here. Even just being like you said, a veteran on a 1-year kind of tryout deal or prove it deal, whatever you want to call it. A new opportunity, kind of towards the middle to later stages of your career. Hopefully, a guy like Mecole Hardman plays well into his 30s. I think he's made just as much, if not maybe even a little bigger effort to connect with the community here in Green Bay too. He was very outspoken, reaching out to fans directly, looking for the bait shop and the best fishing spots on the Fox River. And we're still supposed to go bowling after mini camp and everything is all
that's right.
all said and done, So like I think it does. It speaks to his character, and he's a total pro, right? And whether he's here for one season or 2 or 3 more or whatever it ends up being, he's going to make an effort to connect to the Packers, and not just the team but the town. And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else that stood out the other day. Edrin Cooper posted on his Instagram stories. I don't know if y'all seen it. He was at a local dirt track watching racing.
Yep.
I was like, God, this dude is on the right team.
That's so good.
Love it. Love it. So,
Yeah.
again,
And Daryl, just real quick on Mecole, he said, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mecole Hardman ran a 4.33 40 at the combine, which again is pretty blazing. However, Daryl did go on to say that's 3 seconds faster than Watson. Not quite, but I get where you're trying to go. I think he said 0.3 of a second, but
yeah, 3/10.
That was also what, 6 seasons ago? 7?
Well,
7
yeah.
seasons ago.
Yeah. But I do think that he possibly could. I saw somebody else. Yep, right there. Thank you. Ed Madden saying that, hey, Watson, Golden, Hardman. I mean, I even think that Savion, for the way he's built, that dude is a blazing fast guy for the size he has. Look at guys like Marshawn Lloyd that's coming out of the backfield, bro. I'm telling you, we'd be a couple speed demons, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Dude, all those guys, 4.3 40, right? Bo Melton, 4.3 40. So, and will Bo be on the team? I got to be honest with you guys. I'm already tired of hearing and talking about Bo. We'll hit on it again here in a little bit because it was a part of all the coverage. People were taking this Bo Melton playing cornerback thing. God, they're taking it to the extreme. And it's like, I mean, to the point where people are insinuating with their tweets and in the mainstream sports media that this is the guy that's going to replace Jair Alexander. What the hell are you talking about? How can you be so bad at your job that you think because they were shorthanded at cornerback and they cross-trained him in a mandatory mini camp at cornerback that somehow he is going to be the number one? How bad do you have to be at covering sports to try to convince yourself that's what the Packers are thinking?
I think it's just clickbait. Those guys just know that that's the clickiest click you can get today. So that's what they do.
Bro,
we had Savion Williams in a red jersey, and we had to hear about, are they trying him at quarterback? It's like,
there was Milwaukee guys, ESPN Milwaukee guys talking about this is the answer for Jair being. What are you? Anyway.
Well, what's weird is he did a post, practice interview, and they literally asked him about it, and he goes, oh, it's not a big deal. Like they just, they told me they wanted me to try me out. He goes, if it works, it works. I'm never gonna.
He said it's more like a feel thing right now.
Yeah, he said I'm a receiver. There's no transition or anything like that. And I think it was more funny. They even asked like, "Hey, does your brother know you're playing quarterback?" And he's like, "Nah, because I didn't even tell him because I'm not." Like they literally just put me in a couple drills, guys. Everybody take a step back. Cheese curds make my stomach hurt.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like you say, right? The loudest guy in the room typically has the least to say, right? And a lot of times in the media, it's about being first and being loud, not necessarily accurate,
Yeah, and I will say there were several people that did stand up to that whole Gutekunst isn't serious about winning a championship. He doesn't care about winning a championship. There were several people in the media that bit back on that, and I'm very appreciative that they did, because when you hear someone who is a Packer fan and local sports top personality saying stuff like that, I don't think they realize how bad it embarrasses the fan base. It's just sometimes you scroll through social media and you'll see somebody say something that's totally off the wall, and you go and you click on, okay, he's got like 30 followers. It's just a fan, okay, he's just giving his opinion. But when you see someone who gets paid for a living to speak daily about the Packers and they're just throwing up on their desk just the most ignorant nonsense, it's just crazy, man. It's crazy to me. So I really appreciate, like I said, that there were other sports. You got Tauscher went in pretty hard. Like, I seen that. And that's just, it was good.
You know what sucks is it makes me think of, that's what Bears podcasts do. That's what Bears media does. Like, we don't need to sink down into that sludge.
Right.
No.
And it's
look where we are in the year, right? It's slow news time, right? You're reaching for stuff. You're reading into things. this is the time of year when they're going to try stuff like that, right? It really shouldn't be super surprising at all that they're experimenting right now, you know?
Yep. And again, time will tell how everything shakes out. To me, I still feel pretty confident that, hey, Bo is unfortunately on the outside looking in. But as we see every year, we have these conversations in June and July. And the next thing you know, somebody goes on IR for 4 weeks, and that person that we thought was going to get the axe is on the roster. And in some cases, playing a significant role. I feel like Malik Heath has passed Bo on the depth chart. And we talked about that going into this offseason after looking at the advanced metrics and all that. And then lo and behold, your mandatory minicamp, even before you get to training camp, they're checking Bo out and his versatility at the cornerback position. So it's kind of like it feels like he is on the outside looking. And I love Bo as a person. Like, you're not going to find a better human being than Bo Melton. It's just it's a room that's pretty full, Jake. But
do you think what's more frustrating, at least for me, was I listened to Ryan's pod, I think it was maybe 2 days ago, and he's said this continuously and called it pretty much almost at 100% that when the Packers decide to do this, when they start taking a player that they drafted or signed and have had on the team, they have a designated position and they say, hey, but we're going to try you out at this other position. That usually follows by them getting released or something happening,
or practice squad, right?
or practice squad. And I think that's just something to think about, because I think about Tariq Carpenter's, those types of players where it's like, hey, we don't know where you fit. We're going to try you here. We're going to try you here. Yeah. I hate saying it, but it sounds like it was more likely that it's a last ditch effort to say, like, do we have anything we can salvage here before we decide to let you go? But
yeah, because you'd like to keep Bo, you'd like to keep Bo for special teams reasons as well, right? And yeah, if a backup corner is a way for him to be on the team, I think he's just a victim of a crowded receiver room right now. Two fresh draft picks coming in. You've got a lot of second-year guys, third-year guys. It's highly competitive. So I think there's some truth to that statement. I really do.
Yeah. And I think in many cases, no matter what sport it is, if a player is mentioned that he can do several things, it typically means he can't do one thing great. It kind of is what it is. And I thought Bo, especially in 2023, showed a lot of promise. Last year, he took a step back. There's no doubt about it. But if that's a guy, though, that's rotating on and off of the practice squad all year as you battle injuries at the wide receiver position, man, it's a pretty good spot to be in, that you can have a guy with a little bit of experience in game and someone who obviously knows the playbook. He knows the offense. He's got blazing speed. And now they're cross-training him to potentially play corner in a pinch, that type of thing. That I kind of feel like that's a positive to have. H.E. Solder hit the nail on the head. Troy Brown, he's the first person I thought of when I seen this Solder. But Troy Brown, lot more of a contributor, in the wide receiver room for the Patriots is what he's talking about. Young Tom Brady, that was one of kind of his go-to guys, right? I don't think Bo is quite elevated to in Matt LaFleur's offense what Troy Brown was. And it's not necessarily a knock at Bo as much as it is you got some dogs in that receiver room. I know we may not have a true number one, but boy, oh boy, do we have a room full of twos, man. And that can be valuable when you're looking to spread the ball around and keep the defense on their heels. I'll tell you somebody who is starting to impress already, and it's early, is Jordan Love. We showed a couple clips there. We've seen the bomb to Mecole Hardman. Obviously, the other day we were talking about some other things that were going on. Matt LaFleur today said, Matt LaFleur on Jordan Love's offseason, quote, "It's been as good as it could have been." So it sounds like Coach LaFleur is really, really happy with the work that Jordan Love has put in. Now, will Coach get up there at the podium and go, "Man, let me tell you guys, Jordan been slacking"? He was. It's not going to happen, right? But I also don't think he would just offer up information if he didn't believe it. I don't think Matt's that kind of guy. Matt's got to the point in his tenure at Green Bay, you can tell you don't want to be at the podium. So he darn sure ain't just going to and say extra stuff he doesn't need to say. I kind of see that too with Jordan. It feels a little different. And again, we've just been through OTAs, and now obviously mandatory mini camp is in day 2. But it just feels like Jordan, this is the year that Brett really broke out too. This is the year that Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl, albeit his numbers weren't as good as the year before, but he still was good enough for them to win a Super Bowl. That defense kind of carried on that year as they had the number 1 defense in the league in 2010. Jordan, I don't know, man. I've got these programs I showed you guys on the show last night. Anybody was tuned in live last night. Mandy picked me up all kinds of old the season program, season preview magazines, right? 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, and I want to say maybe it was 98, but going through it last night, the 92 one, Brett wasn't even on the roster, right? And you've seen it. Well, when I say wasn't on the roster, they traded for him in 92, right? Am I thinking right, Tim, or was it 93?
Drafted in 91, traded in 93.
92. Yeah,
so 93 was when he started.
Cincinnati game, right? 93. Okay.
In this program, he wasn't even in the team picture in Green Bay. Now, he wasn't in the team picture in Atlanta because he was hungover. We know that story. But he wasn't.
We're gonna give him some.
He wasn't even in the team picture in Green Bay because he hadn't been traded for yet. They had already, taken the photo and everything. But it was cool going through that program, and it's all about Mike Holmgren and staff, seeing a young Andy Reid, seeing John Gruden look like he was literally 9 years old. It was hilarious. He was just this skinny little kid. Mooch in there.
Andy Reid, right?
Yeah, Andy Reid. Yeah, he
his mustache.
He was not near as big, obviously, as he is today. But boy, you could see with that mustache, that facial hair, just his demeanor, like that dude can smoke some ribs. You just know it. Like he's gonna get to where he is today. There's no doubt about it.
Do y'all remember that clip where I can't remember what Brett did, but Andy Reid was basically like, "Please just don't go out and do that." Or Holmgren said something to Favre. Favre goes out, does the exact opposite, of course, not the one that you're all thinking of, but some other one. And he comes back, and Andy Reid walks up, and he goes, "Why'd you do that?" And he goes, "Blame it on me." And he goes, "I called it. I called the play." And Brett's face, he just walks behind him and goes, "Oh, you're gonna get in trouble."
Yeah. Let's see here if I can find this.
What a staff that was, right?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, Andy Reid, Mike Holmgren. We had Steve Mariucci.
Mooch.
We had John Gruden. I mean, good grief.
Y'all gonna love this.
Taking me down memory lane, man.
I got to show you guys this.
I think there was even more, Tim. I think there was a few others we're forgetting.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Somebody mentioned
Edgar Bennett was on our coaching staff, I believe, back then too.
Somebody mentioned a comment in here about Andy Reid as a kid. You guys see that comment? It just got posted in here. Pull that up on the screen for me. I want to give credit to whoever it was. Yeah. Chuck Jagger says, look up Andy Reid as a 7-year-old. I don't know if this is when he was 7, but this is the punt, pass, and kick competition. Y'all ready for this?
Man.
See if you can pick out Andy Reid here.
I'm gonna guess he's the guy with the ball.
Yeah.
He's bigger than the guy that's officiating there.
Oh, my gosh.
You could tell he didn't check his birth certificate. I think he was coaching in Green Bay 2 years later. Look at the size of this guy. Unbelievable.
Is that real?
No, that's real, dude. That was a pump pass and kick competition. Surprisingly, he did win. He was an underdog, but he won that competition. Yeah, that's Andy Reid as a kid. Unbelievable, man. We'll hold on to that one for a little bit. Also, we got this one we added too. I picked that up on Twitter earlier. Mr. Caleb Williams here in a couple of years. Gonna be working at Whack Donald's if you guys ever watch the Chappelle show. So, anyway, I'm excited about Jordan Love. Am I wrong there though, guys? To me, it feels like he's ready to take that next step. And what I was getting at with the program, boy, we got way off track talking Andy Reid as a kid and everything else. That program in 92, Brett Favre non-existent. 93, he's on the cover, right? 94, he's on the cover. Or no, 94 was Reggie White on the cover. 95, Brett back on the cover. So, like, you've kind of gone through the growing pains a little bit. I think this is the year that we look up at Jordan and go, if he stays healthy, of course, that goes for any player across the league. I think we're going to look up and go, boys, we got us a franchise quarterback. Because we felt like that at the end of 2023. All of us did. Last year, I don't want to say you take a step back because of the injuries, but at the end of the day, man, I really do think this is going to be the year that he steps out.
I think it's got to be, right? It has to be this year if you're Jordan Love, right? You had your setbacks. You did what we do here at Quarterback University, right? You sat behind a starter for a couple of years. The torch was passed, and then you had a hot first year as a starter, and then you got banged up a little bit. Last year didn't go how we wanted. Yeah, this year, it's got to be this year for Jordan. It does. And, it doesn't mean he has to be like off the charts in every single statistical category.
Right.
It just means play some damn good ball for us this year, and let's go get it done. And I agree, Clayton. I think he's ready, and I think he's put the work in over the offseason. I think we shouldn't read too much into Matt's comments about was kind of a quick response about Jordan's off season. It went as well as it could have gone, but I mean, you can read into that however you want. I know what I've seen just based on what he's shared with off-season workouts and training regimen, things like that. So I think Jordan's ready, and it's too early in the year to really start, trying to pick apart too much. But I think by the time we roll into the preseason, we're going to feel pretty good coming out of camp here with Jordan.
United Bates says Wolf, talking about Ron Wolf, while an assistant to the general manager of the New York Jets, had intended to take Favre in the 91 draft, but Favre was taken by the Falcons on the previous pick. Obviously, you guys know He was taken in the second round, and then Ron Wolf went to Green Bay the next year and trades a first-round pick for him. Also in that program, I'm going to snap a picture of it tonight and tweet it out, is a picture of Ron Wolf with Elliott Wolf, who looked like one of those smaller kids behind Andy Reid just a second ago. And it's like, for those of you who don't know, Elliott Wolf worked for the Packers for a long time. He's now the general manager for the New England Patriots. Just a really cool picture of both of them together when he first got to Green Bay. And Ron Wolf had some birth control pants on in that picture. I'm just telling you. One of those that had the long strap across the front and everything. Almost looked like they were, I don't know if cashmere is the right word or not. They looked like polyester pants or something, bro. It looked like they would burn a man up there on a training camp morning. So, but it was cool to see kind of a walk down memory lane with all these characters that are still in the league. And obviously Ron Wolf, just a class act. That dude was a real deal, man. But one of the things that's going to help Jordan Love obviously take the next step is whether or not Matthew Golden gets off to a hot start. And you can see here Matt Schneidman with the tweet, just a little curl route, but you kind of see the quickness, the burst with Matthew Golden. If Matthew Golden pops right out of the gate, and then we get Christian Watson back late October, early November, boy, oh boy, is this going to be a fun season, man. If Matthew Golden, if they hit on this pick, and again, I have no reason to think they won't. It doesn't mean that he has to blow up year one, but I think we're going to look back in 3 years and go, yep, that was a legitimate first-round wide receiver, because the players that have been mentioned that Goody was interested in taking in the first round at the wide receiver position were people like Brandon Ayuk, people like Justin Jefferson, right?
Yep.
These are the guys that, people act like Justin Jefferson was like a top 3 pick. That was not the case. He went later in the first round. So the fact that Goody was so high on him as well as Brandon Ayuk, it tells me that when he's got a first-round grade on a player, they're a hit. There was rumors that Christian Watson, he had a first-round grade on Christian Watson. Now, obviously, they take him in the second round. That's Christian Watson, other than the injuries, has been a hit, in my opinion. My God, when he's on the field, I mean, he really changes the dynamic of the offense. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the role that Matthew Golden could play in Jordan Love taking that next step this year?
Well, I mean, me personally, I think that he with McCole Hardman might be the 2 wide receivers that have surprised me so far, just in how well it seems like they've adapted. And like Jordan Love, he's said some stuff about McCole, mostly positive, but in also saying like, his first couple reps, his first couple days, you could see maybe that he had to adjust maybe to the speed of the game or just to how we run things here. But all of a sudden that he's shown why he's a first round receiver. Obviously the speed there, Love being able to throw that deep ball with him is something that I'm very excited about. And I don't know why, just him wearing 22, I love it. And I know people for whatever reason feel some type of way about it. I want him to come out. I'd be happy. Again, I believe it was the over-under was set around like 750 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was.
So I would be completely over the moon if he was even around the 600 range. I think that's realistic with how deep this wide receiver room is. And if he's one more puzzle piece, I just think that it's that much harder to figure out who you're going to guard in this Packers offense.
Yeah, I agree. Marco Day says, hi, everyone, laying in bed in, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Ennis or Enos, you think?
I think it's Ennis, probably.
Ennis, Ireland. Right now, listening to you fellas, can't wait to see what the Pack has. On paper, they should be better. Appreciate you listening from Ireland, Mark. That's where my family migrated over from way back in the 1600s, ran it back to Ireland. Obviously, with the last name Bailey, you guys get the gist there, right?
Got to add Mark to the ticker, our international ticker here. We've got Marlboro Jack in Argentina. We got Paul in Shenzhen, China. We've got Marco Day in Ireland. And
there it is. Yeah, so that's Mark. Yeah, we got him up there, don't we? Yep.
So
Nice.
just
Right.
hear that now.
Cool.
pretty cool that we got somebody in China
Nice.
listening to this stupid program. It's absolutely awesome. So appreciate you guys and gals supporting the channel. Another thing here I just wanted to show real quick was another shot that Ryan Wood tweeted out at by Ryan Wood over on X. A little chemistry between Jordan and Matthew Golden already. You can see a little back shoulder throw here. Bang, right? That's a pretty darn good sign right there, working on the back shoulder. And this is something I feel like Matthew Golden is going to be good at. He's got strong hands. He's a hands catcher. You never see him catch with his body unless he's in the – only a couple clips I've seen in the back of the end zone in college where he tried to secure it as he kept his feet in bounds. But you can see hands catcher. He's got excellent body control. I mean, there were so many times that he slowed the pace of his route, recognized the ball was underthrown, laid hands, create separation at the end, and will make a diving catch or a leaping catch, falling on his back. He's got great body control. And this is the type of stuff you want to see early on, is a little bit of that back shoulder chemistry, because that's something that Romeo Doubs and Jordan obviously had in 2023. Yeah. Didn't see it as much last year, but.
What do you think, Tim or Clay, about I can't remember who posted. I wish I could give him credit, but it was something about the fact that Matthew Golden has had to, in the last few years, or last year specifically, was it Quinn Ewers thrown with him that had kind of a duck arm, that he had to learn how to play balls differently than a quarterback that'd be hitting you in stride. Like, he almost had to anticipate that exactly right here. Thank you, Soder. That he basically had to learn how to play the game on a different level, whereas that every pass he didn't expect it to be in the right position. He had to basically read every pass coming in live like he's a catcher in the MLB and adjust specifically to make that catch. What do you think about that? I think, and I don't want to give this as a backhanded slight to Jordan Love, but that's maybe been a knock on him sometimes, is that he doesn't get enough air underneath the balls, or he can leave guys when they're wide open that have to hold up maybe on their route a little bit. Do you think that that's a positive for Golden or a positive for Love, or do you think it doesn't matter?
I think it's one of the reasons why his numbers weren't as good in college. Quinn Ewers was dealing with an arm injury there at the end. Now, for those of you who don't know, Matthew Golden transferred over to Texas, as well as Isaiah Bond did from Alabama. And the whole goal was Isaiah Bond was supposed to be the number one receiver, right? He was the dude that was supposed to be the guy. And what ended up happening was, by the end of last season, Matthew Golden became that guy. And I want to say he had 900 yards receiving, I believe, 9 touchdowns, I think. And the big thing, as Zacchaeus says here, y'all worry about Matthew Golden's lack of production his 3 years in college. I'm seeing a lot of talk surrounding that. I'm not at all. And I'll tell you why. The biggest games is when he played his best football. Okay, here's what you should do tonight, Zacchaeus, because if you just look at the numbers and you just hear people kind of talk about it, you can be a little bit misled. Go and watch the SEC championship from last year, okay? And watch Matthew Golden. Now, listen, they were down. Texas was down, but watch Matthew. It's like Quinn Ewers said, "The hell with it. I'm just throwing a Golden." And he went off. Same thing, very similar to, I want to say it was Barron Sorrell had a pretty good game in that game as well in the SEC championship. But that's the type of stuff you look for as a scout. You're looking for someone who plays their best football at the largest stakes. And then if you want to try to throw in the negative of, okay, why were his numbers so bad, Tim? Isaiah Bond coming from Bama, that was the reason he didn't get as many looks early. And to me, it adds way more value to Matthew Golden that he took that from him, right? Yep. And again, the goal, as Greg Cosell says, this isn't something I thought of. This is Greg Cosell, the GOAT of breaking down film and projecting players to the next level. You want to draft players who are ascending into the league. I'll give you an example of the perfect example of an ascending player was Edgerrin Cooper. Played his best football his last year in college, and you look at the tape and go, I think he can get better. That's what they got in Matthew Golden. So the numbers, yeah, they're down. I agree. They don't look as good as like a Tet McMillan or somebody, but Tet McMillan's scouting report was saying he kind of backed off last year a little bit. You look at the numbers and go, how the heck do you come up with that? But again, people are watching the tape. People are watching the mannerisms. They're watching everything, coming through with a fine-tooth comb. I think with Matthew Golden, it's a couple of things. Tim, he plays his best ball in the biggest games, and he's an ascending player as he comes into the league. Doesn't mean he's going to be a hit. He could be a flop just like any of these draft picks across the entire league. But that's what you're looking for to try to catch that lightning in a bottle, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with you. I'm not concerned at all. I mean, this would have been great, this is not a knock on Zacharias, but this would have been great pre-draft talk, type of question, right? Look, as we broke down his numbers in the college tape. But now, hey, he's a Green Bay Packer. He's here. I'm interested in what's in front of him. I'm not thinking about college ball anymore. You're in the NFL. So it's about having a good camp. It's about becoming an asset and a valued member of this offense. And being another weapon for Jay Love. I think, at the top of this topic here, we talked about, Matt Golden and how, he may help Jordan Love take that step, having a weapon like this, a dynamic guy that, another guy that you can throw that back shoulder, shot to along the sideline. And, you watch Golden, man, he's a yak master too when he wants to be, man. He can spin out of that break and just cut loose, add another, 15, 20 yards to a play in the blink of an eye. Like Clayton was saying, such good body control and very compressed route runner, doesn't waste a lot of, energy or motion on nonsense in his route. Like you said, Clay, good hands catcher, not a body catcher. All these things point to, he should continue to ascend, and Jordan should probably take that step this year. And we haven't even talked about Savion Williams and the other 400 receivers that Jordan has at his disposal this year. So, I'm not overly concerned about the quote-unquote lack of production from Golden in college, because I'm with you, Clay. I think if you look, he's a guy who stepped up in big moments and in big games, caught a lot of overthrown and underthrown balls during his time there. So I think he's going to be pretty successful here in the NFL, but we do have to be patient, and guys develop at their own rate. So if he's not, Mr. Lights Out right away, I don't think anyone should be panicking. We gotta let him go ahead and develop.
Yeah. RJ Stewart in the chat, man. Good to see you. I don't think I've ever seen you in here before. Appreciate you tuning in. He says Golden transferred from Houston, not Bama. We didn't say he transferred from Bama. That was Isaiah Bond. Golden transferred from Houston. And then someone had mentioned right here, Ed Madden said Golden also played with the guy the Packers signed recently at Houston. So there's always been other options at receiver when Golden was in college. If you guys will remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat here, guys, but I'm almost positive when Golden signed his letter of intent or, on signing day and enrolled at Houston, before he signed, it was Savion Williams hosted him for his visit. Okay. And then Savion ended up transferring to TCU 1 or 2 years later. And then, of course, Matthew Golden played at Houston a couple of years, and he transfers over to Texas. So, again, he signs at Houston. He outplays that spot and then that's a huge promotion to go from Houston to Texas. So he ascended from Houston to Texas, and then while he was at Texas, he ascended from the number 2 receiver to the number 1 receiver, playing his best ball at the end in the SEC championship. It's just ascension the whole way through the progression there. So, and you guys know Isaiah Bond, his draft stock tanked. The Packers had him in for a 30 visit. His draft stock tanked because of off the field stuff, rumors, what have you. Whether it was true or not, I'm not here to try to determine that. But his stock kind of, and that's a perfect example too. Goody going in, we need a receiver. All right, we really like Matthew Golden. Well, his teammate Isaiah Bond was more highly touted than Matthew Golden. Let's take a look at both of them, right? Mm-hmm. And what you have is one player was up here, and then after he finished in Texas, he was down here. The other one was down here in Houston, and after he finished in Texas, he's up here. Ascending player as opposed to a descending player. So that's stuff I'm telling you, scouts really, really look at, and front office executives really dive into a lot.
Man.
So.
It's crazy in the chat. There's a lot of connections with the Texas, just in general stats. Let's HE sort of saying, how good of a recruiter is the Houston wide receiver coach? Apparently, Deadfish is saying Sam Brown transferred from Houston to Miami. I mean, that's a lot of talent there in that state, I tell you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, man. What did we see a little while back was Georgia was the big, and we still got a couple, 2 or 3 Georgia guys we signed this year, drafted and signed this year, right? Undrafted free agent and drafted. They were on that Georgia program. It seems like they're on to Texas a little bit now because obviously you got Barron Sorrell, you got Matthew Golden. They looked at Isaiah Bond. They're really liking something down there in Texas as well. Maybe it's that there might as well be professional football players because they're used to getting paid even when they wasn't supposed to. They could, you know what I mean? They know how to handle money. Texas has been paying these prospects forever. So if you guys don't know about that, Nick Saban called out Steve Sarkisian a few years ago about how much money they were paying. He was at a booth. He was meeting with boosters like, y'all better up your money because Texas is paying these kids. So that's why they ended up with so many players that got drafted too. So
is Sam Brown the guy that's been randomly flashing that people are talking about as well? Another wide receiver? Have you been hearing this?
I don't know anything about that.
I swear that it's chat. Let me know if I'm crazy. I thought there was somebody named Brown that was another wide receiver that we signed recently that is supposedly flashing like crazy to the point where he's got the media,
Immediately made me think of Michael Scott on the what was it, Diversity Day or whatever, when he said, I'm Mr. Brown. I'm not falling for that. God, that show, boy. There's no way
Sam Brown was on that team across the river from you there, Jacob, over there in Minnesota. Thought he was a Viking.
No, Sam Brown Jr. No, that's what they're saying. He was Golden's teammate apparently too.
Oh, interesting.
Nice. Good stuff, man.
I'm telling you, that'd be a sleeper for the practice squad at least, I'd hope.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2, where we're going to hit on a little offensive line talk. And it sounds like somebody might be trying to take that left tackle spot. We'll hit on an hour 2. We appreciate y'all.
Not Golden. For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome into hour 2. Let's talk a little O-line here real quick, man. And this has been kind of a topic here lately on a lot of the sports talk shows. I know Wildy and Tausch have covered it a lot with Balaga and Tauscher. I love hearing those guys talk O-line play. But Wes Hokowitz tweeted this out. Welcome to day 2 of Packers minicamp. Rasheed Walker and Nate Hobbs not practicing today, so we'll get another extended look at Jordan Morgan at left tackle today. Walker didn't do team yesterday. So people were trying to figure out, like, why is it that Jordan Morgan was playing left tackle over Rasheed Walker? It may be rehab related. He was definitely with the rehab group today. And if you kind of read that tweet from Wes Hokowitz, it seems like he might have been rehabbing yesterday as well, or instead out of team activities. Now, I will say this. If you were to say, Clayton, paint me a perfect picture, or you tell me what's the perfect scenario of who would play left tackle for the Packers this year. If you could say both players are going to play at the same level, it doesn't matter talent, it doesn't matter none of that. You get the hand pick. That's the dude who's going to be the best player at left tackle. I would want it to be Jordan Morgan. Jordan Morgan, that's no shot at Rasheed Walker. He's a hell of a pass blocker. We know he struggled in the run game a bit. But Jordan Morgan, first-round pick, he played left tackle his entire high school and collegiate career. He has been molded to play left tackle. Now, the other thing, Jordan Morgan's under contract for this year plus 2 more years on a rookie deal, which you guys know are a steal in the National Football League with the new CBA that was negotiated there several years ago. Our boy Rasheed Walker, about to get paid. So you avoid that big paycheck if Jordan Morgan does slide in that left tackle spot. Now, here's the thing. If Rasheed Walker is the better left tackle this year, you let him have at it, Don't try to force Jordan Morgan out there if he's not as good of a player as Rasheed Walker. I think what you're going to get in Jordan Morgan, he might not be quite the pass blocker that Sheed is, but I think it's close enough. And what you'll gain in the run blocking aspect, that'll be your better pick there at left tackle. I want to get your all's take on that because, again, if you're just strictly looking at it from a contractual standpoint, Tim, you want Jordan Morgan to be your dude, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can say that without, like you said, it's not a knock on Sheed. It's just kind of the nature of the business, and it's a real concern because we're not talking about the real big contract that needs to be addressed, which is Zach Tom getting a payday here. That's going to be on the minds of Goody and the boys over at 1265. So I think you're right, Clay. In a perfect world, Jordan Morgan steps into that role. And let's be honest, even if he's not quite there yet, he's not going to get better if he's not getting reps, and he's never played left tackle in the NFL. So, the quicker you can get him out there and exposed and, getting that work in, the better his chance at maybe solidifying that starting role in the future. That chance is going to get much greater with the more reps he gets. So, we'll see what happens with Rasheed Walker and his contract, What
do you think, Jacob? Would you rather Rasheed take a step forward and re-sign him and then keep Jordan Morgan somewhere else? Or would you rather see Jordan Morgan kind of step into that role and avoid that huge – because with Rasheed, you're looking at – and it's a wide opinion here, right? I can see how some people would say, probably 10 million per. Others are going, no, this dude's going to get paid like a top 5 tackle. That's how well he's pass blocked. If that's the case, you're looking at it's probably somewhere in the middle, probably somewhere between 18 to 25 million a year on average, I would imagine.
Yeah. Sorry. The chat is just convinced that Daryl is a serial killer. So it's just funny to watch them go at it here. What I will say is that here's what I would want as Tim, you're too quick. Here's what I would want as my preference. Being that this is a contract year from Mr. Rasheed Walker, I believe the dude is going to get his money. He's going to get the bag. He's going to get it pretty good. We probably shouldn't re-sign Rasheed Walker. He's a blessing that we got in the 7th round that absolutely balled out to a point where I don't think anybody could have expected it other than myself, because I love 7th rounders for no reason. They're like lost puppies to me. But in all seriousness, I think that he's going to go somewhere, have a great career, but the amount of money that we would have to pay him is ridiculous. Right. More than the fact that we do have a few guys waiting in the wings that shown us that he needs to have his time in the sun, and 1 for contract reasons, 2, like you said, for his Jordan Morgan specifically, for what he's done his whole career, how well he's played, the draft capital we invested in him. I think it just needs that. It means that if he's good enough this year to overtake Walker, do it in a heartbeat. But if Walker still is that guy, let him ball out, let him make another team spend way too much money to take him off our hands in a nice way. And then we have another year of Jordan Morgan developing and really honing his skill at that left tackle position. That would be my number 1 goal or preference.
Definitely. Vahan in the chat, good to see you, buddy. He says, would you trade Walker for a 3rd or wait to get a 4th comp pick? That's a great question. And let me go to Dave's real quick here. He said, wouldn't that affect his comp pick value if he loses his starting job? Maybe mid-season trade would be more beneficial in your scenario, but we've seen how fast losing a left tackle can hurt us. Yeah, I would not want to trade him for exactly what you said, Dave. If, God forbid, Jordan Morgan does win the left tackle spot, you trade Sheed, and then Morgan goes down, you're kind of screwed. We're right back to where we were last year. You know what I mean? And I do feel like we added some extra depth and value to the offensive line room. So I'm glad you brought that up. As far as the comp pick is going to be determined by how much money he gets in free agency, right? Like that has nothing to do with whether it's a starter or not. Now, if you're saying teams won't pay him top money if he loses his starting job, that's a great point too, right? So that's a very, very well thought out comment there, Dave. It is. Jacob's laughing at the chat. He's not laughing at your comment. That wasn't sarcasm.
No, that's a great one. Just Chuck checking in to make sure. Hey, Daryl, we cool, right? LOL.
Unbelievable. So yeah, it's one of those things that I can see what you're saying there. You kind of lose that value where teams, although man, the tape is the tape. You know, the team's willing to pay him before he loses that starting job. I can't imagine just because he lost his job, they're now going. Now that's going to be their argument, right, Tim? When they go into negotiations with their agent, like, hey, he wasn't even a starter last year. So it's a great point by Dave. I'm glad you mentioned that, Dave.
I when he put that up, I think that the first thing that popped into my mind was for Vahan was, when do we propose this trade? Is this a trade that happens, like you said, somebody said mid-season after we've seen that Morgan's a dude, and then we're like, hey, let's make this decision right now, or is there injuries involved? I would not like it right now.
I mean, I think if you're going to trade him, you're going to try and get the 3rd, right? You know, and if you gotta settle for your.
Well,
4th,
and I saw too. Didn't somebody say Deadfish was saying something about Walker could get us a 2027 3rd round comp pick? I mean, what I don't know. I'm not familiar with the criteria of what designates how high your comp picks go. Is it just depends on how many snaps and how well they played? Is there like a bunch of those metrics?
It's how much money they got in conjunction with how much money. It's basically it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a compensation pick. So if you lost a bunch of people in free agency and they got paid big bucks, that's the true value of a player, is what another team's willing to pay them, right?
Gotcha.
Now let's say that you lost 3 players and they all got paid big contracts, and then you signed, 1 player in free agency. Well, you're still down 2 significant players. That's how the compensation is determined. Now, if you go out and sign 3 yourself, you might not get any comp picks. It's kind of how that works. That's the way I understand it. I'm with you, Jacob. I'm kind of ignorant in that regard when it comes to how comp picks work as well. So Vahan said, would you trade Walker for a third or wait and get a fourth comp pick? I would want to hold on to him this year. That's me personally. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tim, how do you feel about that, man? Because that's nerve-wracking to think your left tackle would go down and you just traded the dude that might arguably be the best swing tackle in all of professional football if you keep a Rasheed Walker, just strictly from the pass blocking.
Yeah, I'm with that. I agree 100% for sure. And we also we can't forget about right guard implications here too. We've talked about Jordan Morgan possibly being tried over there, maybe competing with Sean Ryan, some of the other guys for a right guard spot. So, I don't think you cut and run from Rasheed too soon. I really don't.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I was just going to ask if this was a good segue. And go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, I was just going to say, since you brought that up, Tim, let's think about right guard for a minute. And again, guys, this is mini camp or mandatory mini camp. This isn't like, hey, here's what the lineups are going to be. We're just going off of the most recent information here, right? Jordan Morgan, left tackle. They had Donovan Jennings at left guard, and Wildy and Tausch talked about this, and they were laughing about it. Wildy asked Matt LaFleur, so we noticed Donovan Jennings playing left guard with the ones last couple of days. I mean, is that something he's taking a step forward? And Matt said, has he? Like, he didn't even know that he was playing left guard. Now, he could have been playing stupid, but they made it sound like they were convinced, like he didn't even recognize he's playing left guard. And Tauscher said, well, that ain't good for Jennings if he didn't even know where he was out there.
I think that's Coach LaFleur just having a little fun with the
Hopefully it was, right? So you got Jordan Morgan at left tackle, Jennings at left guard, Monk at center, Sean Ryan at right guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle. Now let's remove the muddy water here for a second. Okay, let's clear it up. Let's say that Jordan Morgan is your left tackle, your starting left tackle. Left guard is going to be Aaron Banks. He's rehabbing right now, okay? And then Jacob Monk, obviously that's going to be Elton Jenkins once they get the contract squared away. And I don't think anybody's concerned that's not going to get done, to be honest with you. So you're going to go Jordan Morgan, Aaron Banks, and you're going to go Elton Jenkins at center. And then I think it will be Sean Ryan at right guard, and then Zach Tom at right tackle. Now, if Rasheed Walker beats out Jordan Morgan for left tackle, I think Morgan goes back to right guard. Now, I think this is where you were going, Jacob. You correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say you do trade Rasheed Walker, right? If you had not traded him and Jordan Morgan or let's say Sean Ryan goes down at right guard and you still got Rasheed Walker on the roster, you pop Rasheed Walker in at left tackle, you kick Jordan Morgan over to right guard, and you're off and running. Now, it is worth mentioning, too, I'll just say this, that Anthony Belton was getting reps. I think he might have been with the ones a couple of times, but it's definitely with the twos at right tackle. So now, is he going to take Zach Tom's job? Absolutely not. But we've talked in the past that if Elton is not in the future, if they don't extend him and they just give him a little more guaranteed money, which many people think that's what they're doing with this whole contract dispute. If that's the case, then who knows, man? Maybe Zach Tom is the center of the future like they talked about last year, where the coaching staff, people get this mixed up, and I'm going to mention it several times throughout the course of the offseason because there's some people that think the coaching staff said Elton Jenkins is a great left tackle, a Pro Bowl left guard, and a all pro left guard and a Hall of Fame center. They didn't say that about Elton. They said that about Zach Tom.
Okay, yeah.
And that's why people were like, "Whoa, is center in the future for Tom?" Now again, let's read the room a little bit. What have they done at offensive line? They went and got Aaron Banks, who is an absolute unit. He is huge, 6'6", 330. They drafted Anthony Belton, right? What is he? 6'6", 330. Zach Tom, 6'4", a little bit smaller. Zach Tom would fit perfectly at center if you have to go that route. So anyway, Jacob, what did that connect with your thought, or were you thinking something totally different there?
No, that was it was trying to figure out what the kind of musical chairs would be if this person goes, and where does this mean? I think I was more interested in if Rasheed just is the guy and he plays at left tackle, like you were saying, does that mean that meaning Morgan slides over to right guard? If that's the case, that means Sean Ryan is the backup center, even though that it looks like Monk has been getting the most of the looks at center. And then, like you said, after this year, does the slate just completely get wiped clean, depending on what happens with Walker, or depending on, still, I guess there's a big question with Elton, not a huge question. Like you said, we probably think that's going to get resolved, but then just the repositioning of what's your best five? And it's not necessarily how much are we paying these guys, even though I think, unfortunately, that may have more of an influence on who starts. But I just want my best 5. And if the best 5 means it's Zach Tom's at center, I'm cool with that. And like you talked about, the size would be almost ideal, like perfect. And it does seem like that they've taken an active, conscious step at saying, hey, we want to beef these dudes up and we want them to be maulers on the offensive line.
Yeah. And again, when you look at Jacob Monk, if he is the center of the future, he's very, very small. He's only like 6'2". So if you compare Jacob Monk to Zach Tom, if that is the center, if that's your choice for a center position 2-3 years down the road, Zach Tom would fit the mold of a bigger center, even though he's not quite as big as Josh Myers or Elton Jenkins. So
if that happened, who do you think hypothetically would move to right tackle? You think they put Anthony Belton or somebody over there? Or?
The fact that they're working Belton at right tackle right now, Tim, that's a great question. I think that's the way I would lean, is like, you draft him in the second round, you let him kind of play backup this year, get his feet under him, and then, God forbid, an injury happen, you get thrust in, you find out what you really got. But you're prepared that if you do move on from Elton Jenkins, I'm just going to be honest, and again, I'm just a stupid fan. I have no inside information. To me, it feels like what the Packers were planning on doing with drafting Anthony Belton was kick Elton Jenkins to center this year. You signed Aaron Banks. You got your left guard of the future for the next 2 to 4 years. And I think what they were going to do is let Elton play this year at center. Next year, kick Tom to center, and Anthony Belton steps right in the right tackle role. Now, I started hearing, no, he's going to be competing for guard. And again, it's early still, but now we're hearing he's working at right tackle. And it's like, this kind of feels like this is the long-term plan.
Okay.
And if you're thinking, okay, I don't want to get rid of Elton Jenkins next year, I completely understand. But if you don't touch the contract and you really force him to go out there and play this year, you cut bait next year, you free up $20 million in cap space if you just move on from Elton next year. And guess what?
Now we know why Big E feels the way he feels right now.
Right. Yeah.
It's about security. Now, the thing that I don't want to say fully disagree, I kind of disagree with like Tauscher and Bulaga is they're going, this isn't about getting an extension. This is about getting sweeten the pot a little bit, get a little bit of guaranteed money this year, right? And that could very well be true. But I think Elton's also looking up like, hey, man, how about y'all commit to me for the next 3 years at playing center? And I just don't know if Goody DiCaprio is willing to do that, seeing that, Elton's about to turn 30. So, and again, I'm just kind of speculating, but
I think that's a fair speculation, because if you think about it logically, the scenario you just played out, that if you want to sit and wait just a little bit on the Tom contract, do you try to negotiate it as more of a center based than a left or a right tackle? You know what I mean? As far as do they do the same thing they did to Elton, but just in a little bit different maneuver? You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey man, we want to kick you inside. Therefore, this contract maybe ain't going to be right tackle type money, but we'll maybe give you more long term. I don't know. Does that make sense in your logic at all? Or
yeah, I think there's this blueprint. Like there's a thing that GMs call modeling the roster. Okay, not your kind of models that you're into, Jacob. We're talking about modeling the roster. Okay. And when you model the roster out, and this is GM 101 right here, this is the stuff that Bill Walsh wrote about in his book back when he was the general manager and the head coach of the 49ers. This is stuff that Michael Lombardi talked about studying under Bill Walsh. You model the roster out and go, okay, here's our best roster or our best starting lineup this year. But 2 years down the road, we want to be projected to go in this direction. And it's all about rotating those heavy contracts out of the rotation. You bring in a younger, quote, hopefully better player, cheaper. That's the overall goal. So at the end of the day, we know Aaron Banks is going to get paid pretty good money for the next 2 years. He's under contract for 4, but you guys know how that's structured. You could get out of it in year 3 if you wanted to. It's more convenient to get out in year 4. So let's just call it a 3-year deal. So that's big money there. Rasheed Walker, rookie contract, you probably don't want to re-sign him if you're modeling the roster out. Elton Jenkins turning 30, you probably want to cut bait in a year or 2 so you're not paying someone who's 31, 32 years old big money. Sean Ryan, I think we all would agree, he's probably not going to get an extension unless he takes an extremely team-friendly deal. Zach Tom is the dude who's about to get the bag. So now what you've got is 2 guys who are getting paid damn good money on the offensive line, in Aaron Banks and Zach Tom, right? You want to try to stay away from having to pay that third offensive lineman big money, And in that case, if that's how you roll, guess what? You've got Jordan Morgan stepping into left tackle. He's still on a rookie deal. And guess what happens in year 3 of Aaron Banks' contract? Jordan Morgan's up for a contract now. Now you look to cut bait with Aaron Banks. You pay Jordan Morgan. You got Zach Tom and Jordan Morgan are now your golden gooses, right? I think that's how it's set to play out. But again, you look up and you got enough cap space and you feel pretty cushiony there. Why not just why not try to field the best 11 out there, no matter how much the price is? That's just not how general managers look at it, So, got Vahan in here with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. You're too kind. He says, "Thank you for all the info. Appreciate it." No, thank you, man. Thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for asking great questions and making comments in the chat. Thank you for the dono there. So, it's fun to, people get bored talking about offensive line play because in this fantasy world we live in, where everybody's, we're all guilty of it. We're going to host a fantasy league this year. It's going to happen. People love receivers. They love the running backs. They love the quarterbacks and the hybrid tight ends and all these things. But I'm telling you, man, you look up at who wins Super Bowls, it's in the trenches, boys. And you got to make sure you've got the right guys in place. And the number one way of doing that is to massage that salary cap. Chuck Jaggers mock draft. No chance, Chuck. Get out of here with that. Hey, soon enough, it will be draft season again, though, I promise you that.
I think he wants a mock fantasy football draft.
I was going to say, hey, you know what? If there's ever a night coming up in the next couple months when we're in the dead zone and Clayton doesn't want to go live on like a Friday, I think me and Emilio should do ourselves a fantasy football mock.
There you go. You should, man. We'll watch the subs disappear. Ron Samble in the chat.
Don't put that name in my mouth right there.
Ron Samble in the chat says, Monk shows 6'3", 308 on RAS. Thank you so much for that, Ron. I heard people saying 6'2". If the RAS card says 6'3", then that's what I always go off of because that's the combine measurements typically. However, I was going based off of what Wildy said too, and they were asking, like, Tauscher was asking Wildy, how does Monk look out there? And Wildy kind of made fun of him, like, they're not even doing anything right now. I mean, we seen the video of Jordan Morgan, right? Looked like he was steering a fake car, like he was steering Emilio's.
I'm glad you said that because I saw that. I said, please tell me that's not his off the ball move. And you look at what we were watching. Really, what we were watching was Jordan Love doing passing drill. It looked like take the snap, get quick release kind of thing. So it wasn't really an O lineman drill as much as it was a quarterback drill. But yeah, that did not look great at all.
Just one more thing quick. Where I don't see any Glover highlights. Can we get to the Glover highlights?
Yep. Emilio will be here in a little bit.
Yeah, Emilio. I'm sorry, Julio.
Yeah.
Julio right now will be saying, I don't know if you noticed, but look who's the backup right tackle on this depth chart from our lads.
Oh,
that's what he'll be saying.
All right, then.
I'm with you, Jacob. I can't buy into the Travis Glover hype just yet, man. Ron Samble, though, back to what he said there, and the point I was trying to make about Wildy, we get off track so damn easy on this show. Wildy said, I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you. Wildy said, I'll tell you this, when you see him with the offensive line out there, he looks very, very small compared to everybody else. So that's why I mentioned that. And I've heard people say 6'2", but thank you, Ron. Again, the difference between 6'2" and 6'3", not a huge difference. Now, 6'2" to 6'4", significant, right?
Sure.
So, yeah. But, yeah, Lampkin, I love that Daryl brought this up. Daryl in the chat said Lampkin's the shortest offensive lineman. That dude was like 5'10", 5'11". You guys remember us talking about that? Yeah. And he was like 270 pounds, too.
Wasn't he Duke? I thought he was a guard from Duke, I thought.
Is it Duke or UNC?
Maybe UNC. Yep, I'm thinking of the colors.
I think it was UNC, and then it was Jacob Monk came from Duke, I believe.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
And what's crazy is, like,
really well.
Yeah, some people really, really like Emory. Was it Emory Hunt that's on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast? Kind of one of his draft specialists. He said that's my best center in the draft. I about spit out my Mountain Dew that day. I was like, "What is this guy smoking?" Now I think he went undrafted. I believe I could be wrong, but I know this: if Lampkin was 3 or 4 inches taller, he would have been one of the top centers taken in the draft for sure. So, anything else on offensive line here that you guys want to hit on? Matter of fact, I'll pull this up real quick as we've got just a picture of Jennings out here. I just like sharing this stuff. And Mike Spofford, one of the goats of covering the Packers here. You got a picture of Donovan Jennings out there. Somebody in the chat help me out. What's Donovan Jennings' size, his measurables? How tall and how much does he weigh? Because he looks just as big as these guys that are out here right now. And again, you look at Jacob Monk right there. He don't look tiny, does he?
6'4".
I thought he was 6'5", 305.
23.
Oh wow!
So he's a pretty good sized boy then.
Well, depending on where you look here.
See, I
Right.
just
Yeah.
real quick. I mean, I thought, again, like Tim said, I thought it was more of a Matt giving some bombastic side eye, more, just
Yeah, a
some
little Tupac
sarcasm.
Whistler,
Exactly.
gamesmanship. Yeah.
Because I really do. I like Donovan Jennings quite a bit. I can't remember. I thought he was maybe a University of South Florida guy, something like that. Was surprised with where we got him, and kind of felt like more of a steal type guy that could have some potential. But then also, what do you think about the lack of any? Is John Williams been around? Is he even that? That was a
I don't
7th round
know.
guy, right? Like,
Yeah,
where'd he
I
go?
don't-
What's going
I
on?
don't think he's even been in the camp yet.
That's
Tim,
weird.
have we heard any? Has somebody help me out in the chat?
Cincinnati, I believe. John Williams. I think
Yeah.
that's him.
Because Tim, I think last time you brought it up, like, hey, maybe he's trying to finish his degree or something. Maybe it's something college related, like before he gets into, because it's not training. If he's not here at training camp, something's up. We might be looking at another one of those draft picks that happened before with Goody, where the offensive lineman literally retired his first year in the league. So it's really, really strange. There it is, Deadfish. Jennings is 6'4", 323. So that was right, Tim. You had it right, brother.
Sweet.
So, pretty decent size, right?
Yep.
So, especially for guard. So, and then Tom is 6'4", 305 is what Ron said. And that just feels like a center, does it not, boys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like a center. So, let's see here. I think he was rehabbing today, talking about Williams. I hope you're right, Madden. Ed Madden. Maybe he was. Maybe he was there. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, though, for sure. And again, it's a 7th round pick. Like, I'm saying that Rasheed Walker's anchored left tackle for the last few years, too, at 7th round pick.
We don't usually do super in-depth into the rehab groups anyway, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're going to see him because everyone's looking at Scoot right now, right? They're looking at every step he takes with that knee. But other than that, you can kind of lose guys in the mix. And then the rehab group, that can change by the day. You know, it depends on what day and what's going on. So.
Have you seen Watson, though, throwing like what looks like 30, 40-pound medicine balls over his head?
Oh, yeah.
Like doing the Olympian, like, what's going on? I thought he was.
Hey, this is Watson
We
right
talked
here.
about that last night a little bit about him being ahead of schedule and how, just like these surgeons and doctors and trainers
That's crazy.
and just the technology we have now, these players are able to get back a lot quicker from these knee injuries than they used to be. And we saw it a couple years ago with Rashawn. He was kind of ahead of schedule and was able to get back after his knee injury. So, I think it's looking good, man.
What was it, Tim, for Rashawn Gary? How many months was it? Was it 8? Am I thinking right? It was 8 months and he was back. Somebody help me in the chat with that. I would love to know when Gary tore his ACL and then his first game back. Because he was back week 1, wasn't he?
Week 9 in 2022, he tore it.
So week 9 would have been what, October?
November 6th.
November. Okay, so let's go December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 10 months. Okay, so 10 months.
But remember how he looked in June, July, and August, though.
Yep.
Like he was back before he was back. I remember being extremely excited when we saw that first day when they were actually letting him, do some live reps and actually go out there and hit something. So yeah, I mean, I think could come back sooner than expected. I really do. I don't know how much sooner, but I think it's possible.
Because it's been 6 months now, right? So if it's June, so obviously he got hurt in January, so let's just count it off here. So July would be 7, 8 would be August, September would be 9. Yeah, man. October.
Yeah. Great point by Ron in the chat. Scoot is wearing cleats.
Yeah.
It's true. He's further along than we think. They're not going to let him do that if he's not ready.
Especially on turf and everything. And they had his, I think he said he had his helmet at certain points too. Like it wasn't just, I'm going to come out here and hang out with the team. Like he was.
And you got to love that in him as a player, right? That's that pro mindset where like, hey, cleats, gloves, helmet, don't get yourself out of rhythm. It's time to get our legs under us. I don't want to have to come back from rehab and then get used to playing with equipment again, and trying to get my legs underneath me. So I think Scoot it's a testament to his efforts as a pro and, how he's handling this rehab.
I think absolute best case scenario for Scoot would be week 4-ish, week 3, week 4. And
yeah, that would be a dream.
Yeah. More realistically, probably going to be like week 9, I would imagine, something like that.
So, yeah, Carolina or Pittsburgh, maybe. Yep.
You know,
He
it is.
scoot back just in time to go up against Aaron Rodgers. Let's go, dude. Let's go.
Or even if
And
we
it-
get him back for Monday Night Football against the defending Super Bowl champions, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's crazy too to think about. Like you said, I had to step away for a second, but Tank Dell had another crazy injury. That guy looks like he's ready to suit it up in like 2-3 months. I think that, like you said, the surgeons, the rehab, the way these guys are able to take care of their bodies, it's just kind of impressive. Like even on like a nerdy level, you know what I mean? And how great would it be to maybe offset the wear and tear of a long season? We have that really early bye that I'm not excited about, but you get a guy like Christian Watson. Even if he comes back in week 12, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like we have him for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks into that playoff stint where all of a sudden he's starting to absolutely turn into his best player while other people are starting to absolutely get down, downbeaten and deteriorated from just the long wear and tear of a season. It could be a blessing in disguise that we don't even know about.
Yeah. And I think it's important to try and get Scoot back on the field, with a little bit of, speed, because you want them to get in the groove, and it's hard coming back after missing a lot of time, especially when you're talking live game speed, competitive football. But that being said, we don't want to rush it, right? You don't want to. I mean, he's in this whole mess because we just had to let him play against the Bears.
Yes, exactly.
So let's not dig ourselves another hole and bring him back 2 weeks early and have a massive setback. So.
And it would be so detrimental for him as a kid, dude, because that was the whole knock, is that he was always willing to play, ready to play, or I shouldn't say ready, but willing to put his body on the line to help the team.
Right.
And we need to be a little smarter in those situations and say, hey, dude, take a week off. Like you got to.
I agree.
Completely. All right. So there's a little Scoot update. Somebody else who's coming back from injury this year, obviously he was banged up most of the year last year, is Luke Musgrave. Bill Huber from SI posted this video of Musgrave looks 100% good to go, right? He's a lot quicker than you would think, man. And his stride length, like he's definitely got great stride length. Hate that the ball was underthrown there. I'd like to see him kind of stretch that thing out, but it is what it is. Obviously, they're not going full speed. Luke Musgrave, man, it's another guy. We went from going, man, what are we going to do at receiver, to all of a sudden we forget Musgrave can be flexed out too. If you want to show 12 and put him out wide.
Yeah.
I want to hold out hope for Musgrave. I was very, very high on him in the draft. Very high on him in the draft. And he did, I want to say, he let me down, like he gives a damn what I think, right? But it's just like, I don't know, man. Maybe this is the year that it just clicks and he stays healthy. And the people saying he's soft and this and that, and that drives me crazy.
Yeah,
Dude finished the game while he was bleeding internally. Just, yeah.
Look at this. I know, again, way too early, right? And I don't want to nerd out here, but he doesn't look like a baby deer anymore. Like,
right.
Look at the feet. Look at his feet running that simple little route. Yeah, he didn't, like Soder said, he didn't fall down. Compressed,
it does look smoother. It looks way smoother.
He does.
Transition.
He looks more balanced. Looks a little
healthy.
bigger. He looks a little bigger too.
You know what's even more exciting is that for as fluid as he does look, and look at Tuck behind him though too, bro. He's going in and out of those cuts a little faster than I think I've seen him in the past. And if we have two athletic tight ends, which I'm not going to expect Musgrave to be the blocking, necessarily inline style guy. That's not better in his game really ever, right? But if he can absolutely take that, what's it be now, a third-year step into being that kind of seam buster, the guy that we just need him to stretch that defense, make them afraid of one other person to the point where, there's too many guys to guard, bro. We got too much speed. We got too many people that can absolutely open up on a defense. It's going to be, I really do think, if everybody stays a little healthy, a little disciplined, I don't know, Tim, the sky's the limit, isn't it?
Oh, I agree. And the thing with Musgrave though is he's got to shore up that blocking, right? We know Matt's model, right? You don't block, you don't get the rock.
No rock.
Yeah, and we see that with Tucker Kraft, right? The guy does it all, Swiss Army knife, right? He'll get in there and lower the boom, and then he'll catch a fade route for a tutter on you. So I think we're trying to get Musgrave up to that kind of level and kind of round out his game. But this would be a great year for him to take that step, and if he does, I feel really good about the tight end room with him, Tuck Norris, and Big Ben Sims too. Another guy. Don't sleep on Ben Sims as well. So I feel good about the tight end position going into camp.
Funny too, we played that sound bite from Tucker Kraft last night on the show, and he said, "Yeah, I want to work on my vertical game." you know. And you guys remember specifically, I said, man, throw a little stick nod in his game.
Ooh.
Watch his route right here. That's a stick nod. Out, up. That's a stick nod route. Pretty wild that the clip we got here is showing the exact route we mentioned last night. So I think they got the ability, the upside, the ceiling, if you will, to be the best tight end tandem in football, man. Tucker Kraft.
Imagine the roasting that a DB would get if he got stick nodded by a tight end.
Yeah. Especially, yeah. And then, of course, him doing that to say a nickel corner, a box safety, and then to see the post safety's eyes when he notices, damn, I've got to tackle this dude now. You know what I mean? He's I'm excited about what Tucker.
What do you think is more of a mismatch? A safety against a Tucker / Musgrave, or a linebacker that doesn't quite see how fast? You know what I'm saying? Like, which one would you prefer if you had? I mean, obviously the scheme dependent, play dependent, all that. But like, I feel like I could see Tuck running away from some linebackers like nobody's business. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like the height advantage over the safeties, like you said, could be just easy money.
Yeah. To me, it's real simple. Musgrave, his strength, his superpower is stride length. He's significantly faster than Tucker. I want to say he ran a 4.61 and Tucker ran a 4.67. So it's speed, it's stride length, it's more of a receiving role, right? But Tucker is all yak. He's yak, piss, and vinegar. Like that dude will run through your face. So
and bush lattes and lung darts.
Yeah.
If you're asking me, Jacob, as a defensive coordinator, you could pick one that you want to go up against. I would rather go up against Musgrave because I can make sure that he doesn't take the top off. Tucker Kraft, it's hard to coach your players to stick your face in a buzzsaw. And that's what you got to do when you tackle Tucker. So I think it's more that physical game. And Tucker's a significantly better blocker than Musgrave as well. So, you're going to see Tucker is that traditional Y, your big Y. And Musgrave is that guy that's going to move around a little bit and get a little cheat motion out on a wheel or a cross country or something like that. So
no block, no rock.
What do you
Yeah, the chat said, Kraft said he worked on separation. That's what we were just talking about, how he talked about that yesterday. He said creating separation in man coverage and my vertical game is what he was talking about. So you get to working on that, again, like we talked about last night. These defenses, when they go and watch the tape, they watch the tape this whole offseason. And when they look at 85 and they game plan for Green Bay, they're going, hey, listen, this guy loves to catch the ball underneath and run through people's faces, right? So let's take that away. So if you start to clamp down on that and he hits you with a stick nod or he hits you with, a double move, you can see them biting on it. And if he's truly working on that separation, which when you talk separation, look at the footwork, like you pointed out there, Jacob. Watch Tucker's footwork. You could tell he's been working on it. Yep. That's clean, boys. That's crisp. And honestly, some people say that ain't a big deal. Go try that. Go try that little double move cut.
Yep. And see if you do it without falling over.
See if you do it.
And then, by the way, catch the football that's right there in your face as soon as you turn out of the break.
Right. What'd you say, Jacob? Did you say something, Jacob?
No, I said along with the footwork, watch the head fake. Yeah, like the head fake that he has too. He's looking more wide receiver-ish, not just a bruiser. He's starting to polish that game a little more.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what these two guys can do this year for sure. Man, this show flew by. Jeez, Pete, we didn't get to cover half the stuff I wanted to. Let me hit this real quick. As more information has come out, it sounds like the Packers are going to absorb that entire $17 million cap penalty from Jair's contract. We talk about when you wait post June 1, you kind of roll it into next year, a portion of it. You can take the bigger hit this year or the smaller hit this year and then bend the rest. It sounds like since they got all this cap space, as Matt Schneidman tweeted out, Packers are taking on Jair Alexander's full dead cap hit this year instead of spreading it out per source. That's what Brian Gutekunst was referencing. According to Over the Cap, that number is $17 million. So you go ahead and you get that cap penalty out of the way so you ain't got to fool with it next year. And again, right now we're sitting at $40-some million in cap space. That was before that $17 million cap hit. So now I want to say we're somewhere around $30 million in cap space this year. And next year, I think as it sits right now, we're sitting somewhere around $30 million as well. According to what I've looked at, and I've looked at the salaries that are on the books. I've looked at the projected salary cap for next year, which is always going to increase every year because NFL is king. I think we're sitting somewhere around $30 million. Now, that includes the draft class, but it doesn't include filling out the roster, and we know they're going to sign some of these guys to futures and things like that. That's going to eat up a little bit more as well. So I always tell people, man, get it within 5 million of an accurate number and you're good. Like you ain't got to break it down to the exact dollar. So
things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
I got to ask you guys, man, we got to retire the Jair clips, don't we?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Yeah, we do.
It just
It sucks.
disappeared. It just disappeared. It's gone. They're all
You
gone.
just erased
Tim
it.
said, I'm not even waiting. It's
Gone.
It's fair.
hey, when you go through a breakup, Tim, you don't listen. You
Yeah, you
delete
gotta
all
box
the
that
pictures.
stuff up, get it out, get it away. Got to move on. Move
He said
forward.
you got to box it up. AFAM said I sell it on eBay. Is what he said.
Daryl, if you need to get rid of somebody, call Daryl. Apparently,
Daryl said I got a tank of acid that I make that disappear. You know what I'm saying?
That's terrible.
All right. I was gonna hit a little defense here real quick. We're like I said, we're out of time. Let's finish with the Patreon questions real quick because I've kind of put these off. And I definitely don't want to get in the habit of doing that. This is something that we want to keep everybody involved over on Patreon. If you want to join our Patreon community, just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. It's the best way to support what we do here at Packers Total Access. $3 get you access to everything on the site. Also get you entered into the giveaways. We're going to be giving away an autographed Romeo Doubs card in a case and everything, really put together well by Rick Kruger, one of our awesome listeners. Anybody
I just caught the ball.
Anybody who's a member of the $3 tier will be entered into that contest for a chance to win that card this coming week. Also looking for Damon Stewart, Randy, and Greg. I think Randy already came forward, and we were waiting to hear from Damon Stewart. I'll check those messages, and we'll go ahead and give that card away that we, like last 2 weeks, we've done a Kingsley Enagbare autograph card, and we also did a Lucas Van Ness autograph card. So just a way for us to give back to those who support the channel. You also get access to the questions for the show. So here are some of the comments/questions. Zach in the chat, Zach Metzenbar says, going back to the pod from last night, this is a couple of days ago, our third down efficiency was not very good in any of the losses we had. I think drafting Matthew Golden is the answer to that issue. He seems to show out the most in big moments. That's exactly what I'm seeing too, Zach. When his team needed him in college, I believe that will be his primary role, even if he doesn't put up, quote, wide receiver 1 numbers. I think you're spot on there. And as we're seeing in minicamp, a little back shoulder chemistry he's creating with Jordan, kind of feels like, and again, when you look at that and you think that's what Rome did, right? And there's a chance that Romeo gets traded before camp's over, right? There's a legit shot at that. If they like what they see in Golden, I could see them move on from Rome, and now he's the X. You know, that could be the case as well. Or if you just want to play him primarily at Z, that's perfect. You can put him primarily at Z, and then you let Wicks try to work himself into the X role along with Savion and McCole. We just talked about McCole, and here we are not even mentioning him as the top 3. Like, who knows? That dude could come in and take the Z, and you put Golden at X. I'll tell you something else that could happen. Romeo Doubs could have his best training camp of his young career and force them to not take him off the field too. That could happen as well. So then we mentioned, of course, the Carrington talk. We won't hit that again. Last one, Trevor Anderson said, hey, Clayton, I don't have the tools to see what other teams did around the league, but people seem to think we have a problem in the secondary. We only allowed 2 100-yard receivers all season last year. I'm going to repeat that. Wow. We only allowed 2 100-yard receivers all season last year, and none against the Eagles in the playoffs. Not
Is that real?
Yeah, not cherry picking one stat to give the whole picture. I just found this one interesting, as I would have thought we gave up a lot more than that. You know why, Trevor? Because idiots talk about it as if they know what the hell they're talking about, and it's just simply not the case. It's not. I could be wrong here. Let's go. You go look at the box score, guys. Week 1 against the Eagles, I'm almost positive one of those 100-yard receivers was A.J. Brown. And by the way, Jair was covering.
Jair. Yeah.
So if you remove Jair's performance, then you only had one 100-yard receiver. I'm almost positive he had over 100 yards. And again, that's not saying Jair's a bad player. I'm still holding out a little bit of hope, and I know you're going to laugh at me. What if Jair goes to the market and it's less than what the Packers offered him in a restructure, and he just comes rolling right back into town?
And then Goody says, we've moved on.
You think he will?
That's I honestly, yeah. I don't think that
Probably not. You're probably right. Thanks.
I hate to be like that because
No.
I'm with you. Like, there's that small possibility that, hey, you get a call one day. Hey, is that offer still on the table? My gut's telling me Goody would say no, it's not. So,
yeah. And listen, here's the thing. I expected if he was going to sign, it was going to happen quick.
Yeah.
I thought,
so did I.
and he's still on the market. So I know it's been 2 days. I'm over here going, maybe he comes back. I don't know, because the team is better with him on it. There it is. Thank you, Bates. You are the man, dude. He said Brown 5 receptions, 119 yards in a tud. That tud, I remember it like it was yesterday. I almost want to pull it up real quick on NFL Pro.
Don't do it to us.
It was a stick knot. It was an out and up on the outside on the right. I could see it plain as day. And Ja bots on the double move, and he gets cooked over the top. And then he made Javon Bullard miss, which, again, Javon Bullard was single high safety. You can't put that on him.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Do you guys unfortunately, I just feel like the writing is on the wall. Somehow the jaw is going to be in purple. And whether that be purple in like Vikings, I think, or Baltimore, I could just see those are the types of teams that are willing to say, hey, we know what he can be when he's healthy. We just got to work on it. I think, though, that Clayton, I don't think it's crazy for you to say that he goes and tests the market because we always say you can't make the club in the tub. Jair has shown not only in the amount of games he has been available for or not played, but Ryan did a great job, too, of showing that he has been a hindrance sometimes in the locker room. He has one on record saying he didn't make critical tackles that would have either won playoff games or won divisional rivals against the Niners, against the Lions, against the Vikings. He admitted to it.
Playoffs.
that he knew he should have either made a play, wrapped up, didn't give full effort, didn't want to go, whatever the wording is. To me, I think teams look at that and say, yo, this dude's going to get to be about 30. He wants like 30 million a year, whatever, big money. No, that doesn't sound right to me.
That's what I think he's going to notice. And if you want to speculate on, he might go here, he might go there. Pittsburgh needs a corner. Could it be Minnesota? I think if you're going to try and speculate on where he might go, like Dave's saying here, Ravens make a ton of sense.
Oh yeah.
Him and Lamar Jackson are best good friends, So, like, okay, that makes sense. But is Baltimore going to overpay for Jair?
No.
Are the Minnesota Vikings going to overpay for Jair?
I think Minnesota would. Kwesi sucks, dude.
So but that's my point. So if you want to narrow it down, start looking at organizations that are going to bow down and pay what Ja wants, because we already know Ja's not interested in renegotiating, or, he wants what he wants, right?
Yeah. He thinks he's Jair from 4 years ago.
Well, all right. But one thing he has been, though, in this whole contractual mess of a process is consistent. He said, look, I want what I want. I'm not budging. Y'all can offer a restructure all you want. I'm not signing it. Well, that's what we did, right? And we moved on. So I think another team, any prospective new landing spot for him is going to be an organization that's willing to pay at least pretty doggone close to what Ja's looking to get.
Oh, Carolina. That makes sense.
Yeah, Carolina. That's where that they didn't realize I was from here.
They must not have remembered.
An organization that might overpay for Jair could be
Duval.
I could see him down there in Florida too. He just looks like a Florida guy, don't he?
Yep,
for sure. Back to the poll question as we get ready to wrap up here real quick. I asked here on YouTube, I said, who would you rather start at left tackle, Rasheed Walker or Jordan Morgan? 58% of the viewers, and we had 71 votes, 58% of the viewers said Rasheed Walker. 42% said Jordan Morgan. So pretty close there, just a 16% difference. But you guys are on board with Rasheed Walker, and it's hard for me to argue with that because, again, man, he's been as good of a pass blocker as you could ask for, especially for a 7th-round pick. Like, we fell in love with him when we seen him violate that dude in college, right? That was but I didn't expect him to – and for him to sit a full year and then just come out in year 2 and just all of a sudden, man, look, this guy can pass block. Holy cow, pretty impressive. Again, the run blocking, leaves a lot to be desired, but you can't expect a perfect prospect in the 7th round. That's for sure. So,
yep.
Anything else, boys? We good?
Nope. Just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, and I wish Julio would come around more.
Who? H.E. Soda said, poll is wrong, clearly rigged. There you go. Just like everything else on this show, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here, guys. I got a chance to get some brownie points tonight and actually not get threatened with a divorce for being up here too late. Last night we got, after the show, Tim, we sat up here another hour watching baseball videos, people getting beamed and fights from baseball games. And Mandy was like, it took a long time tonight. Yeah, it was a busy night. We had a lot to get done. So anyway, appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys were awesome. I want to give a special shout out to Vahan for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. That was very kind of you. Everybody in our Patreon community, thank y'all. You are the lifeblood of what we do here. Just supporting the show. You guys are awesome. So, and everybody on the podcast as well, man. I love that we're still getting feedback from everybody on the podcast. I know sometimes it's hard to catch us on YouTube, and hopefully we illustrate and make it entertaining enough in podcast form that you still want to listen to that as well. So, that being said, Jacob, Tim, appreciate y'all's time. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world and go back.
There we go.
Bye, guys.